Hi, welcome back to another episode of the Rooted Soul podcast series. I'm your host, Jamila, certified holistic energy healer, licensed professional counselor. Thank you for joining me again. So, today's podcast, we are going to be talking about the High Priestess. Now, as I discuss the high priestess energy, I will be interchanging the language of the high priestess and the high priest because we have masculine and feminine energy within us. All of us have masculine and feminine energy within us. And so you'll hear me talk about it interchangeably. So let's get started. Okay. So, the high priestess. The high priestess is the energy that represents the number two. And the number two represents duality. Think of sun and moon, our yin and yang, our lower and higher. When we talk about lower and higher, we're going to be talking about it from the perspective of lower emotions and higher emotions. And so the high priestess, some characteristics of this energy is intuitive, mystic, introspective, deep awareness of self, universal consciousness, connection to this universal consciousness, spiritual awareness, unconditional love to self and others. These are the energies that the high priestess, the high priest represents. Now, when you think about the masculine and feminine side of us, right? So, how those energies will play out, of course, will look different depending if you're tapping into your masculine energy part of yourself, are your feminine energy part of yourself, are you working with both of those in balance in the high priestess energy? So if the high priestess energy is blocked within you, some characteristics are indicators, are markers of that would be a troubled soul where you find yourself where you just find you have a restless soul, like your soul is always troubled and uncomfortable. And so that can play out rather in just being agitated a lot. It can play out in being frustrated often, which can cause difficulty in sleeping. You may find yourself having nightmares regularly or a significant amount of nightmares that wake you up, that are so troublesome that when they do wake you up, it's even hard for you to go back to sleep. Unregulated emotions, where you just find that your emotions just they're just so unpredictable even to yourself, and they sway like within a flash of lightning. Interpersonal conflicts can be another indicator, and so you find yourself just it's very difficult for you to get along with others, even with your loved ones. You find yourself quickly irritable or irritated by them. And then also another one could be conditional love. And so you find that you have a lot of expectations or a lot of conditions that need to be met in order for you to give love to others and receive love from others. So these are some descriptions of that the energy of the high priestess, the high priest is blocked within you. So the zodiac correspondent to the high priestess is Cancer. And we know that the Cancer zodiac sign is related to the moon and is related to our emotions. And when we talk about emotions, we're talking about emotions from the standpoint of the lower and higher emotions. And when I say lower and higher emotions, I don't mean this in one is better than the other or one is bad and one is good. That's not what I mean. What I mean is like a lower emotion is the first emotion that we tend to feel. Now, mind you, this all also centers around how open your energy centers, your chakras are within you, right? So if there is blockage in your root chakra, you you may need to start there first to open that up, to feel grounded in that, right? Because it's the foundation, it's the first chakra before we even get to your emotions, which sit in your sacral chakra. And then from our sacral chakra is our solar plexus, which is the gateway to the higher part consciousness of yourself. And if there's blockage there, then those emotions in your sacral chakra just get stored up in your solar plexus. And then that truth, right? That deep introspective, that deep soul truth of feelings that we're talking about, or emotions that we're talking about, can't channel its way down either. And it can get stuck in the solar plexus as well. And so that's something that can be worked with an energy healer like myself, or through yoga, mindfulness. These are some things that can help with that. But as I was saying, the zodiac correspondent is the Cancer, and Cancer is, as we know, is related to the planet, or the planet correspondent, the moon, which has to do with our emotions, right? And so when we talk about our emotions, we have like emotions that have to deal with what what we see, what we hear, what we touch, what we experience in this physical avatar body. But then there's also these deep-seated emotions that come from the inner soul, right? That come from the ancestral plane, that come from your soul group, right? Your spirit guides. That is what I mean by your lower emotions and your higher emotions. And so both are significant, and both are um, important, and both can be utilized to maneuver in order, harmony, and balance to fulfill your highest purpose and goals and aspirations and desires, right, that you have for your experience here on this earth. And that's what this high priestess, high priest energy that you can tap into. It is harnessing your lower and higher emotions and using them for whatever you are wanting to accomplish, whatever you're trying to begin, whatever you're trying to end, whatever you're trying to mend. That's what this energy is. So the alchemy practice, as I was saying, is this connecting, right, of these lower and higher emotions. That's the alchemy work that is being done. Now, I don't know, before I get to the alchemy practice, I don't know if I mentioned the element correspondent to this high priestess energy, and that is water. And we know that water, right, is affiliated with the moon, like the moon, if the moon tides and the moon phases influence water. Excuse me. Sorry, I'll say bless me to myself. But anyway, so the element water is significant to the high priestess, which is also significant to the zodiac sign Cancer. And so there's this connection and this communion of harmony between these. And we know that water, when we think about water, right? Like water has a lot of depth and layers, right? Like the ocean, so much of the ocean has not even been explored. And so that's what I mean when I'm talking about like these lower and higher emotions, like these emotions that come from a place long before you were in this avatar body that you are in. And so the alchemy work is about connecting those two and bringing them into communion. And so, uh, an exercise or a practice that you can do to help or to aid in this alchemy work is a spiritual bath. And when I do a spiritual bath, I usually choose a time where I know that I have at least 30 minutes to an hour of uninterrupted time. I like to bring in my healing sounds, music. I add essential oils like lavender. Sometimes I may add eucalyptus as well, just depending on the mood that I am in. I also add Epsom salt. And you can find Epsom salt actually that already has the essential oils infused in it. And so sitting in that bath and that water, right, that we were talking about, that corresponds with this energy helps for you to connect to your intuitive self. So often in our society, it is such a high pace, fast food, move, that if you are not accustomed to listening to your intuition, trusting your intuition, if you have come from a background, a family of origin, or an upbringing, an environment where you were not allowed to trust your intuition or listen to it, if you were not taught how to hear it, then it can be difficult for that to transpire in the way that this Western culture moves. And so a spiritual bath almost like slows things down and pauses so that you can kind of connect with yourself and you begin to hear the inner self and what it needs to share with you. And this inner self, these deep emotions that we're talking about, mind you, they have a light and dark part. And again, when I use these words light and dark, I do not mean them in a way that one is bad and one is good. No, it's just a different aspect of yourself, right? Like, so there's always when we talk about the number two, and we were talking about this duality, right? There's always another side. Um, and when you are comfortable in channeling and working with the high priestess, high priest energy, you are able to, this unconditional love that we're talking about, right? This radical acceptance of self. You're able to look at both parts of yourself, right? Like you're able to be aware and then accept from a place of love the light part of your energy, right, of your emotion, and the dark part or the shadow part, right? Because the shadow part there is a reason why it's there and there's something you can learn from it. And so when you allow that, then you can work with that. And again, this alchemy that we're talking about, right, then you can use it in order, balance, and harmony for whatever it is you're setting out to do, right? For your purpose and existence on this earth. So that's that alchemy practice. The root work. So the root work that is being done when we talk about the high priestess, high priest energy has to do with, so we talked about the lower and higher emotions, right? In the alchemy practice. Well, also with this root work, how this is playing out like on earth, right? Is the sun and moon relationship within yourself. And what I mean by that is like how I was explaining that the solar plexus is the gateway to the higher self, right? Well, it's also the gateway to the lower self, right? And so the solar plexus corresponds with the sun. It is your confidence seat. It is your ego seat, right? And so having a relationship of order, balance, and harmony with your sun and your moon, which is the seat of your emotions, right? So the moon represents, like, again, like we were talking about, the lower emotions, sacral chakra area, but also the higher emotions, right? Like these deep, deep parts of you, this soulful part of you, this intuitive part of you, this knowing part of you, right? The I know part of you. And so having a relationship of your sun and moon that flows, kind of like how the earth's relationship is, right? Like the earth's relationship, the sun and the moon are in balance and harmony, how they move, right? And so same so within you, as above, as below, as below, as above. So within you yourself, because you are a world, an inner world yourself. So having this balance and harmony of your sun and moon is the root work that aids and helps in channeling and working with the high priestess energy. And so, as I was mentioning, the solar plexus in the gut represents the sun, and the moon guides the digestive system. So, balance of self equals a healthy digestive system. And so, when lower emotions get stuck in the digestive system, when they're not able to channel up, right? So that your higher self, like the intuition, your soulful part can commune. Like there could be this negotiation of like this that lower emotion, like, oh, I see where you're coming from with that, right? But think of it in this higher plane. And so then there creates this balancing, and then it brings the message back down through your chakra centers, your energy centers, right? Like, and so that's like what the flow should be. And so if the lower emotions get stuck and they're not able to reason with your higher self, that can create some of those blocked characteristics that I mentioned earlier, like conditional love, agitation, a troubled soul, nightmares, some physical manifestations that can also happen. It's like bloating and constipation, and just where like your digestive system is all out of whack. So these are some. This is what this root work can help and aid in, and so an herb that can be very beneficial in this root work is peppermint. Peppermint stimulates our circulatory system while relaxing the nerves, right? Peppermint also raises the vibration and clears any space. And so peppermint is a good herb to use in this root work of this sun and moon relationship of creating a healthy balance between the sun and the moon within you. Now, herbalists recommend that you do not use peppermint if you have acid reflux, but to use spearmint instead. But peppermint can also be used as an essential oil. And so it can be used externally as an essential oil with a carrier oil. Now, the carrier oils, they, depending on your preference, of course, you can use glycerin. Vegetable glycerin. I like almond oil or shea butter oil. These are some other options that you can use as well. So, with every podcast episode, I like to end with an affirmation that aligns with the energy that we discussed. And so, with the high priest energy, I want to end this podcast episode with the affirmation: my intuition will never lead me astray. I want to say that again. My intuition will never lead me astray. It's a lot of healing work to get to a place where you feel comfortable, where you feel secure, where you trust your inner knowing, and to know how to listen to it, to hear it, to know when it is speaking, not the other voices, not society, but your inner knowing is speaking. That will never lead you astray. If you are someone that would like to connect more with the high priestess within you, if you know that you are someone that is struggling to connect with that energy, and some of the things that I mentioned about blocked energy resonates with you, then I encourage you to reach out to learn more about how we can work together in a one-on-one space to help to clear that energy so that you can connect with your higher self, your intuitive self, because your intuition will never lead you astray. I want to thank you again for taking the time to listen to the Rooted Soul podcast series. I hope that the information that is being brought to you is beneficial. And those of you who are veterans and experts in this already, it's refreshers or reminders, or maybe useful to share with your community that you work with. And until next time, thank you again. Bye bye.